Myso, 31F, is well off. She is constantly buying expensive gifts for me, 25M, even when I ask her not to. For Christmas, she wants to pay off my student loans as her Christmas present. However, we have only been dating for barely a year. Posted by you/throwersmoney121. Background: I have been dating a girl who let's call Trish for less than a year. We met at my friend's New Year's party. I will be honest, I was not really looking for a long-term relationship at first, as I had just got out of one. However, those thoughts rapidly disappeared. She is gorgeous, smart, and a dork like myself. The fact that she gets genuinely happy to see me means a lot. We have similar hobbies and both work in tech. She very much has the dominant personality that makes it very hard for me to refuse her. But she isn't abusive or anything like that. There is also a fairly big age gap, but I really like her. Trish is well off. She was one of the first employees at a tech company that ended up being bought out by a larger one. I don't really know how wealthy she is, but I honestly don't care. While she does oftentimes spends a lot of money, several times she has told me money isn't an issue for her. She has also very much told me that she knows what she is doing regarding money. Monday was my birthday. She spent probably somewhere over a 1K on gifts for me. The thing is, they were all things at one point. I made a comment about it or something. She bought me a watch that I vaguely remember looking at back in February. I said it was a nice watch. So there is thought there. I tried to get her to return the stuff, saying this is way too much, but she 100% refused. For her birthday back in July, I made her favorite food and seemed genuinely happy with this, and specifically forbade me from spending money on her. On the other hand, I am poor. I got a master's in a useless subject and currently work as entry-level software developer. I have a ton of debt, and frankly my finances were a mess. She knows how much of a mess they were because she sat down with me one day and basically untangled the mess and taught me proper budgeting/investing/etc. Last night we were talking about Christmas and what our plans are. Eventually it came to gifts, where I basically begged her not to spend anything on me forever, and that I cannot get her anything on the same level of what she bought me. She made a big deal and told me she didn't want anything like that, and she wanted her gift to be spending Christmas with me. Trish, on the other hand, said that her gift for me is she is going to pay off all my debt so I can stop worrying about it. I really thought she was joking, but she is completely serious. Personally, I said sure, because that is pretty awesome. I feel this is insane, and I genuinely don't understand. We have been dating less than a year. Everyone I have talked to has either said she is joking or lying. But I know she isn't, which makes me all the more confused. I am looking for advice. I really just don't know how to respond or handle this type of thing at all. I do genuinely really love spending time with her, and if she never paid a cent, she is still easily the best person I have ever dated. Can someone help me, please? Top/relevant comments. This is a difficult situation, so let's try to untangle all the threads. How much debt do you have? Don't need a specific number, just say something like, between $10,000 and $15,000. Do you believe she can afford this gift? Are you comfortable with this gift? What do you think it will mean? What are your top 3 concerns? How much debt do you have? Don't need a specific number, just say something like, between $10,000 and $15,000. Around 50K, most of it being student loans. Do you believe she can afford this gift? I believe she can, as she knows exactly how much debt I have. Are you comfortable with this gift? I don't really know. If it came from a family member or anyone else, I would accept it without issue. I guess to me, I am worried it will be something that will hang over our relationship forever. But at the same time, I have never seen her ever really be malicious towards me in any way. What do you think it will mean? She said it would make her happy if I would stop worrying about pinching every single penny. I really don't know. What are your top 3 concerns? That this is going to be held over for our entire relationship. I will always feel guilty about this. There is something else going on for why she is doing these things. I am worried that if accept the gift, she will eventually feel regretful about it. I like her. Commenter. Wow man. Sounds like you're living the dream. But in all seriousness, do you think you're bothered by this possibility because you feel like having money essentially thrown at you is emasculating? I know for some guys, despite how much they might love the person they're with, it becomes an issue, especially as the power dynamics may be different to what society thinks is normal. I hope that makes sense. I guess it's just something you gotta figure out within yourself. Other than that, if you're happy, this is the ideal situation. Some women also like being in control like that, probably stems from her maybe not being well off in her childhood ick. But I don't think it's weird. Maybe set more boundaries and have a serious conversation about it, but also allow her to spoil you a little. But in all seriousness, do you think you're bothered by this possibility because you feel like having money essentially thrown at you is emasculating? Honestly, yeah, I kind of do. It is a stupid thing. Personally, it just makes me in some way feel completely inferior that I am unable to handle my financial situation myself. Some women also like being in control like that, probably stems from her maybe not being well off in her childhood ick. She is very much that type of person. However, I do know that her family does have decent money, so I don't think it is that maybe. I am going to have a serious conversation with her tomorrow. I guess my thoughts are so jumbled by this that I don't even know where to start. Final update 16 days later. So after reading all the advice I got from you guys, I agreed to let her pay off my student loans. I have also kind of just given in and agreed that I have no say on how she spends her money on me. However, I explained that I will never be anywhere near as successful as her, so I can never really reciprocate gifts on her level. She was completely fine with this. I also agreed that come February I am going to move in with her, since she has asked me a fair number of times about this. So I jokingly said that could be her Christmas present, and she got extremely happy. I will be honest, I still feel somewhat uncomfortable and uncertain about everything. I still feel that there must be some sort of catch or something. I met her friends, and apparently her last 2 relationships all fell apart within a year, and it apparently came down to her somewhat forceful/dominant personality. Personally, I like part of her, so it doesn't bother me. Anyways, thanks guys, I think I made the right choice. I will see where this goes. Top/relevant comments. OP replied to a deleted comment. I will be honest, I have been looking for red flags and warning signs. Here is the thing, I don't really think it is truly financial abuse. I am not dependent on her income. While my salary is nothing compared to hers, I can still get by fine without much worry or issues. I do agree, however, my biggest concern was her holding the gifts over me, however, for a different reason. I really like her, and I would still be with her even if she wasn't rich or love-bombing me, and I want her to understand that. However, if she treats me terribly, or is abusive and tries to leverage the gifts as a reason to stay with her, I am just going to walk away. OP replied to a deleted comment. I am extremely happy with our current relationship, and would just be as happy if she didn't shower me with gifts. I like her as a person and not for the wealth she holds. The moving in thing was very much my lease is up in February and I am absolutely not living there 1 second longer. The discussion is ether. Do I sign a new lease? Is there even a point? She owns her place, and it is much nicer than where I currently live. It is big enough that we can both comfortably WFH there. I spend roughly half the week living with her more or less, and the amount of time spent at her place keeps increasing. My living conditions are not great. I am sharing an apartment with 2 roommates, and frankly the entire building is a mess run by a scummy landlord. Commenter. Is everyone just ignoring this part? I met her friends, and apparently her last 2 relationships all fell apart within a year, and it apparently came down to her somewhat forceful/dominant personality. I know he said this doesn't bother him, but if I'm already uncomfortable with someone and I hear this about them, I consider that a bit of a warning. I actually asked her friends about that, mostly because she has never mentioned her previous relationships. A couple weeks ago when we were bored and she was showing me some photos of a trip she took a while back, there were a few photos of her and her ex, and she got really uncomfortable and awkward about it. So I just casually asked her friends about them when we were having some drinks, and she was gone. The longer version is one of her previous exes really hated the fact that she very much the breadwinner, and some other things, and that relationship fell apart. The other one I just got a vague mention that apparently their personalities just completely clashed to the point where they had a really messy breakup. Commenter. Sounded like men could not handle a confident woman. Happens all the time. Like this entire post from the start, if it's a man with more money we don't get this post. The last one, it's a non-issue. None. 0. Roles reversed and a woman is rich and confident. Red flag, red flag. It's actually funny, because that is what her friends said about her past exes when I asked about them. They both had huge issues with the fact that she wanted to take the lead on everything. I personally like that, and she does listen when I am against something, so it is fine. Commenter. I'm not sure if it was covered in the other thread, but you should be careful of how she pays off the loans. I think there might be tax implications since there's a limit of $15,000 for gifts. Yeah, I know she explained how it is actually going to work. It isn't just her giving me a check for the amount. She has a way better understanding of money and stuff than I do. Commenter. This screams of love bombing and future financial abuse. For it to be financial abuse, I need to be in a terrible position. I still have a job, and I make relatively good money such that I can be considered blue-collar. While the area I am in has an insanely high SEO, I was okay before I met her. Editor's note: bro is laying some legendary pipe.